Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to Best English Podcast. I'm your host, Sophia, and I'm so glad you've decided to join me today. We have a special extended session planned, one designed to immerse you completely in the sounds, the rhythms, and the real-life flow of everyday English. Our focus today is on something that is at the very heart of any language: daily conversations. These are the small talks, the big discussions, the quick questions, and the detailed stories that make up our lives. Many learners feel nervous about these moments. They worry about finding the right words or understanding fast, natural speech. My goal today is to help you push past that worry, to build your confidence so that you can handle any daily conversation that comes your way. To do this, we are not going to study lists of phrases from a textbook. Instead, we are going to do something much more natural. We are going to become invisible listeners. We will follow a small family through a typical day, from the moment they wake up to the moment they say goodnight. We will listen to their interactions at home, on their way to work and school, during their lunch breaks, and in the evening. As we listen, I will be your guide. I'll pause the story to point out useful phrases, explain why people say things in a certain way, and give you a chance to practice. This is B1 and B2 level listening practice, designed to feel less like a lesson and more like a podcast, or even a story you can get lost in. So find a comfortable place, relax, and let's begin our day. Let's step into the lives of Mark, his wife Sarah, and their 16-year-old son, Leo. The first light of morning is just starting to filter through the blinds in a quiet suburban home. The air is still and peaceful. Inside the master bedroom, Mark begins to stir. He blinks his eyes open, feeling the gentle weight of sleep slowly lifting. He turns his head on the pillow and looks at his wife, Sarah, who is still sound asleep. He smiles. He reaches over and gently shakes her shoulder. "Sarah," he whispers. "Hey, good morning." Sarah groans softly, pulling the duvet tighter around her. 5 more minutes," she mumbles, her voice thick with sleep. Mark chuckles quietly. "Come on, sleepyhead. It's Tuesday. You have that early meeting, remember?" This is a very common and gentle way to wake someone up. Notice Mark's soft tone. He uses a pet name, sleepyhead, which is an affectionate term for someone who is sleepy or likes to sleep a lot. He also gives a reason for waking her. "You have that early meeting, remember?" This shows he is being helpful, not just annoying. Sarah's eyes flutter open. She stretches, a long, satisfying stretch that ends in a yawn. "Oh, right. I completely forgot. Thanks for waking me up. How did you sleep?" Mark sits up and swings his legs over the side of the bed. "I slept like a log, actually. I don't think I moved all night. I had the strangest dream, though." "Let's pause here," Sarah asks. "How did you sleep?" This is a standard morning question. It's a way of showing you care. Mark's reply is a great idiom. "I slept like a log." A log is a heavy piece of wood. It doesn't move. So, if you sleep like a log, you sleep very deeply and soundly. It's a wonderful, natural phrase to add to your vocabulary. Then he adds, "I had the strangest dream, though." This is a perfect way to start a little story or a longer conversation. Sarah props herself up on her elbows. Her interest piqued. "Oh, what was it about?" "Well," Mark begins, "I dreamt I was a contestant on a baking show, but all I had to bake with were car parts. I was trying to make a cake out of spark plugs and hubcaps." Sarah laughs, a bright, clear sound in the quiet room. A cake out of car parts? You and your weird dreams. What do you think that means? I have no idea, Mark says, standing up and stretching. Maybe it means I should stick to my day job. Anyway, I'm going to jump in the shower. Are you getting up? Yes, I'm up, Sarah says, finally pushing the duvet away. I'll start the coffee. What's the plan for breakfast? Just toast and coffee for me, Mark calls out as he walks towards the bathroom. I need to leave by 7:30 at the latest. This little exchange is full of useful everyday language. What's the plan for breakfast? Is a simple, effective way to ask about the morning meal. It's a little more collaborative than, what are you making me for breakfast? It implies they will figure it out together. Mark's reply is direct and gives a reason. He needs to leave early. This is how real conversations flow. They are full of information and subtle cues about people's plans and feelings. Now, let's think about how you could use this. Imagine you are waking up. What would you say? You could try saying it aloud now. Maybe something like, "Good morning. I slept well, thanks." Or if you didn't sleep well, you could say, "I tossed and turned all night." This means you moved around a lot and couldn't sleep soundly. Practice it. I tossed and turned all night. It makes your English sound much more natural. Down the hallway, in another room, the scene is slightly different. Leo, their son, is still fast asleep, surrounded by posters of bands and video games. His phone alarm starts to buzz on his nightstand. It's a loud, annoying sound. Leo's hand shoots out from under the covers and slaps around on the table, trying to find the snooze button. He finds it and slams it down. Silence returns. A few minutes later, his door creaks open. It's Sarah, now dressed in a robe, holding 2 mugs of coffee. "Leo," she says, her voice firm but kind. "Time to get up, honey. You can't be late again this week." Leo pulls a pillow over his head. "I'm tired," comes the muffled reply. "I know you are," Sarah says sympathetically, walking over to his window and pulling open the curtains. Bright light floods the room. "But the world awaits, and so does your geometry homework that you didn't finish last night." This is a classic parent-teenager conversation. Sarah uses a term of endearment, honey. But her tone makes it clear that this is not a request. Her statement, "You can't be late again this week," is a gentle reminder of past behavior. This is a common strategy in daily talk, referring to past events to influence current actions. Her comment about geometry is a mix of humor and a clear reminder of his responsibilities. Leo groans and sits up, squinting in the bright light. "Ugh, fine. Is there any coffee?" "Way ahead of you," Sarah says, handing him one of the mugs. "Be careful, it's hot. Now, what do you want for breakfast? We've got cereal, eggs, toast." "Just cereal is fine," Leo says, taking a sip of coffee. "Thanks, Mom." "You're welcome. Try to be downstairs in 15 minutes, okay? Your dad might be able to give you a ride if we're all on time." Let's look at this. Sarah asks, "What do you want for breakfast?" This is slightly different from, "What's the plan for breakfast?" It's a direct question to one person about their preference. She then lists the options. This is very helpful in any situation where you are offering something to someone. Instead of an open question, you give them choices. It makes the decision easier. Leo's response is simple and polite. "Just cereal is fine. Thanks, Mom." The "fine" here means it's acceptable. It's a good choice for him. Sarah's final instruction, "Try to be downstairs in 15 minutes, okay?" is a polite command. The okay at the end softens it, turning it into a request rather than an order. A short while later, the family is gathered in the kitchen. The room is filled with the smell of brewing coffee and toasted bread. Mark, now dressed for work in a shirt and trousers, is reading the news on his tablet at the breakfast bar. Leo is slumped over a bowl of cereal, slowly spooning it into his mouth while scrolling through his phone. Sarah is moving around the kitchen, making lunches. "Anything interesting in the news?" Sarah asks Mark, without looking up from the sandwiches she's preparing. "Just the usual," Mark replies, his eyes still on the screen. Politics, traffic, and a story about a cat that can predict the weather. Apparently, it hides under the sofa when it's going to rain. "Well, that's more useful than most weather forecasters," Sarah says with a smile. She turns to Leo. "Leo, phone away at the table, please, and have you packed your bag for school?" This is a typical breakfast scene. The conversation is light and moves between different topics. Sarah's question, "Anything interesting in the news?" or is a great conversation starter. It's open-ended and invites a longer response. Mark's summary is a bit sarcastic. Politics, traffic, and a story about a cat. Sarcasm is very common in English, especially among people who know each other well. It's using words that are the opposite of what you really mean, to be funny or critical. Sarah's instruction to Leo, "Phone away at the table, please," is a polite but firm rule. The word please is crucial here. Without it, the sentence would sound much more like an order. She follows it with a practical question. "Have you packed your bag for school?" Notice the use of the present perfect tense. Have you packed? This is used for a past action that has importance in the present. The bag needs to be packed now for him to be ready for school. Leo sighs dramatically and puts his phone down. "Yes, I've packed my bag, but I can't find my history textbook anywhere. I think I might have left it in my locker at school." Oh, Leo," Sarah says, a hint of frustration in her voice. "That's the third time this month. You need to be more organized. What are you going to do in your history class?" "I'll just have to share with Ben," Leo says, shrugging. "It's no big deal." Here we see a small conflict. Sarah expresses her frustration using the phrase, "Oh, Leo," and by stating a fact, "That's the third time this month." This adds weight to her point. Leo's response, "It's no big deal," is a very common phrase used to downplay the importance of something. It means it's not a serious problem. For a parent, however, it might be a big deal. Mark looks up from his tablet. He decides to intervene. "Okay, let's not get stressed. Leo, after school today, your main priority is to go to your locker, find that book, and bring it home. Understood?" Yeah, understood," Leo mumbles. "And Sarah?" Mark continues, turning to his wife with a softer tone. "Don't worry, he's a teenager. Forgetting things is part of the job description." He winks at her. Mark does a great job of de-escalating the situation. He gives Leo a clear, direct instruction. Your main priority is... This is strong, clear language. Then he comforts Sarah with a joke. Saying that forgetting things is part of the job description for a teenager is a humorous way of saying it's normal and expected. This is a great example of how humor can be used to resolve tension in daily conversations. The last-minute rush begins. Sarah hands a packed lunch to Mark and another to Leo. "Here you go. Don't forget these." Thanks, love," Mark says, kissing her cheek. "Right, I'm off. I have to beat the traffic." He grabs his briefcase and car keys. Leo, are you coming with me? I can drop you near the school. Yeah, 1 second, Leo calls out, running back towards his room. I forgot my charger. Hurry up, Mark shouts from the front door. We're going to be late. This part of the morning is often chaotic in many households. The language becomes shorter, more direct. I'm off is a very common informal way to say, I am leaving now. Mark's question, are you coming with me, is a direct offer. And the phrase, hurry up, is a classic command used when time is short. Notice the difference in volume and urgency compared to the calm conversation they had just 10 minutes earlier. Our way of speaking changes dramatically depending on the situation. Leo comes running back, charger in hand. Okay, I'm ready. Good. Say bye to your mom, Mark instructs. Bye, Mom. See you later, Leo shouts as he follows his dad out the door. Bye, you two. Have a good day. Sarah calls after them. She stands at the door for a moment, watching them get into the car. The house is suddenly quiet again. She takes a deep breath, sips her coffee, and looks at the clock. It's time for her to get ready too. Now let's shift our focus to the commute. The journey to work or school is full of potential conversations. Let's first join Mark and Leo in the car. They are stuck in slow-moving traffic. The radio is on, playing a popular song. Leo is looking out the window, looking bored. Mark decides to break the silence. So, are you prepared for your math test today? Mark asks, keeping his eyes on the car in front. I guess, Leo says with a shrug. I studied for it, but trigonometry is just, I don't know, it's confusing. When am I ever going to need to know the angle of a triangle in real life? This is a classic question from a student. Mark's attempt to connect is a good example of a parent trying to engage their child. Leo's response is honest. He expresses his feelings using phrases like, I guess, which shows uncertainty, and I don't know, which shows he is struggling to find the right words. His question, when am I ever going to need to know, is a rhetorical question. He isn't really asking for an answer. He's just expressing his frustration. Mark smiles. You'd be surprised. If you ever want to be an architect or an engineer or even a video game designer, you'll need it. It's all about understanding space and angles. But I get it. I felt the same way about history when I was your age. This is a fantastic response from Mark. First, he answers Leo's question directly and gives real-world examples. This validates Leo's question. Then, he shows empathy. The phrase, I get it, is very powerful. It means I understand. By sharing his own experience, I felt the same way about history. He creates a connection. He is not just a parent lecturing his son. He is someone who understands his struggle. Really? Leo asks, turning to look at his dad. He seems genuinely interested. Absolutely, Mark says. I used to think, why do I need to know about all these kings and queens from hundreds of years ago? But now, I find it fascinating. It helps you understand why the world is the way it is today. The traffic starts to move a little faster. Look, we're finally moving. I think I'll take a shortcut through the side streets. It might be quicker. Okay, Leo says. He seems more relaxed now. The conversation has changed his mood. Mark turns the steering wheel. So, the plan is, I'll drop you at the corner of Oak Street. You can walk from there, right? It's only a 5-minute walk. Yep, that's perfect, Leo confirms. What time will you be home tonight? My last meeting finishes at 5, so I should be home by 6, depending on the traffic. Sarah's meeting a friend for lunch, so she might do some shopping afterwards. Dinner will probably be around 7. What about you? Do you have football practice? No, not today. I'll probably just come home and, you know, finally find that history book, Leo says with a small laugh. Good man, Mark says, smiling. That's the plan. This conversation shows how people confirm plans and share their schedules. Mark uses phrases like, the plan is. To make his intentions clear, he asks a confirmation question. You can walk from there, right? The right? At the end is asking for agreement. They also use language to talk about time and schedules. Finishes at 5, home by 6. Dinner will be around 7. The word around is useful when you are giving an approximate time. This whole exchange is a simple, effective way of coordinating their day. Let's do a quick practice. Imagine you are making a plan with a friend. You want to suggest meeting for coffee. How would you say it? You could say, "Are you free for a coffee sometime this week?" Or, "How about we grab a coffee on Thursday afternoon?" The phrase, grab a coffee, is very common and informal. Try saying it. Let's grab a coffee. It sounds friendly and relaxed. Meanwhile, Sarah has left the house and is walking to the bus stop. It's a bright, sunny day, but with a cool breeze. There are a few other people waiting. An elderly woman is also there, holding a shopping bag. The woman smiles at Sarah. Lovely morning, isn't it? The woman says. It really is, Sarah replies with a warm smile. A bit chilly, but the sun is beautiful. This is a perfect example of small talk. Small talk is a polite conversation about unimportant things. In Britain and many other English-speaking countries, the weather is the most common topic for small talk. It's a safe and easy way to be friendly with a stranger. The question form, isn't it, is very common for making statements you expect the other person to agree with. Lovely day, isn't it? The bus is late, isn't it? The bus arrives. Sarah gets on and taps her transport card on the reader. She sees an empty seat next to a young man who is listening to music with headphones. She walks towards it. Excuse me, she says, is this seat taken? The young man pulls one headphone out. Sorry? Is this seat free? Sarah asks again, pointing to the seat. Oh, no, it's free. Go ahead, he says, moving his bag from the seat to his lap. Thank you, Sarah says as she sits down. This is a very common and important interaction. When you want to ask if you can use a seat, you can say, is this seat taken? Or is this seat free? Both are perfectly polite. Notice that Sarah first says, excuse me, to get his attention. This is always a good idea before asking a question to a stranger. The young man's response, go ahead, is a friendly way of saying, yes, you can. Sarah settles into her seat for the 20-minute journey. She looks out the window, watching the familiar streets go by. Her phone buzzes. It's a text message from her friend, Chloe. Hey, looking forward to lunch. Same place, 1 p.m.? Sarah smiles and types a reply. Me too. Yes, 1 p.m. is perfect. See you there. This is a modern form of daily conversation. Text messages have their own style. They are often short, use abbreviations and emojis. Chloe's message is friendly and efficient. Same place, 1 p.m. is a quick way to confirm the details without writing a full sentence. Sarah's reply is equally friendly. Me too shows enthusiasm. Perfect confirms the time. And see you there is a standard way to end a message about a meeting. Let's now jump ahead to midday. We'll find Sarah at a busy modern cafe called The Daily Grind. It's noisy, with the sound of chatter, coffee machines, and background music. Sarah is sitting at a small table for two. She checks her watch. It's 1:05. Just then, her friend Chloe rushes in. "Sarah, I'm so sorry I'm late," Chloe says, giving her a quick hug before sitting down. "The traffic was an absolute nightmare." "Don't worry about it at all," Sarah says, reassuringly. "I've only been here a few minutes. It's so good to see you. How have you been?" This is a very common scenario, meeting a friend who is running late. Chloe's apology is strong and sincere. She says, "I'm so sorry," and gives a reason. The traffic was an absolute nightmare. An absolute nightmare is a strong exaggeration used to mean something was very, very bad. Sarah's response is perfect. She says, "Don't worry about it at all." This is a kind and forgiving phrase. She makes her friend feel comfortable immediately. Then, she moves the conversation forward with a warm, open question. "How have you been?" "Huh. I've been okay, really busy with work. You know how it is," Chloe says, taking off her coat. "But enough about me. What's new with you? How are Mark and Leo?" A waiter approaches their table. "Good afternoon. Are you ready to order, or would you like a few more minutes?" "I think we're ready," Sarah says, looking at Chloe. Chloe nods. "I'll have the chicken salad, please, and just a sparkling water to drink." "Ooh. And for you?" the waiter asks Chloe. Chloe says, quickly scanning the menu. "I'd like the mushroom risotto, please, and could I get a Diet Coke with that?" "Of course," the waiter says, writing on his notepad. "So that's 1 chicken salad, 1 mushroom risotto, a sparkling water, and a Diet Coke. I'll get those drinks right out for you." "Thank you," they both say in unison. This ordering scene is full of essential language. The waiter is polite and gives them options. "Are you ready to order, or would you like a few more minutes?" Sarah uses the classic phrase, "I'll have," to order her food. This is a very common alternative to, "I would like." Chloe is a little less certain, so she says, first, which is a filler sound we use when we are thinking. She then says, "I'd like," which is another polite way to order. She also uses, "Could I get," which is a slightly more informal but still perfectly polite way to ask for something. Notice how the waiter confirms the order at the end. This is good practice to make sure there are no mistakes. Now that they've ordered, the friends can get back to their chat. "So," Sarah says, leaning forward, "you said you've been busy. Is everything all right at work?" "Oh, it's just the usual end-of-quarter rush," Chloe explains. "We have this huge project with a tight deadline. Everyone is a bit stressed. To be honest, I'm thinking about looking for something new." "Really?" Sarah asks, surprised. "I thought you loved your job." "I did," Chloe says with a sigh. "But things have changed. There's new management, and I just don't feel as passionate about it anymore. But that's a boring topic. Tell me something fun. What have you been up to?" And this is a deeper conversation. They are sharing real feelings and life updates. Chloe uses phrases like tight deadline, which means there isn't much time to finish the work. She expresses her feelings honestly. "I just don't feel as passionate about it anymore." Sarah shows her support by listening and asking questions. Chloe then changes the subject. This is a common social skill. If you don't want to talk about something anymore, you can say, "But anyway," or "But enough about that." Chloe says, "But that's a boring topic. Tell me something fun." This is a clear signal that she wants to move on. Sarah thinks for a moment. "Well, Mark and I are thinking of planning a little weekend getaway, maybe to the coast. We haven't had a proper break in ages. Oh, that sounds wonderful, Chloe says, her eyes lighting up. Where are you thinking of going? And their conversation continues, full of shared experiences, advice, and laughter. This is the heart of friendship, expressed through simple, everyday language. Let's do a quick practice for this situation. Imagine the waiter brings you the wrong drink. You ordered a Diet Coke, but he brought a regular Coke. What would you say? You need to be polite but clear. You could get the waiter's attention by saying, "Excuse me," or "more." Then you could say, "I'm sorry, but I think I ordered a Diet Coke." The phrase, "I think," softens the statement, making it less accusatory. It's a very useful technique for making complaints politely. Try saying it. "Excuse me, I'm sorry, but I think I ordered a Diet Coke." While Sarah is at lunch, let's check in on Mark at his office. He's in a meeting with 3 of his colleagues, David, Maria, and his boss, Susan. They are sitting around a large table in a glass-walled conference room. A presentation is on the large screen at the front. Susan, the boss, is speaking. So, to summarize, the sales figures for this quarter are up by 7%, which is fantastic. Great work, everyone. Now, let's move on to the next agenda item, the marketing plan for the new product launch. She clicks a button and the slide changes. Maria, you've been leading this. Would you like to walk us through your team's initial ideas? This is a typical meeting environment. The language is more formal and professional than the conversations we have heard so far. Susan uses formal phrases like "to summarize" and "let's move on to the next agenda item." She gives positive feedback. Fantastic. Great work. Which is important for team morale. When she asks Maria to speak, she uses a polite, inviting phrase, "Would you like to walk us through?" To walk someone through something means to explain it to them step by step. Maria nods and sits up straighter. Thank you, Susan. Okay, so our core proposal is a multi-channel digital campaign. We're suggesting a strong focus on social media, particularly Instagram and TikTok, to reach a younger demographic. We've also drafted some concepts for video ads. David, another colleague, raises his hand slightly. If I could just jump in for a second, he says, I have a question about the budget for this. This is a key skill in meetings, how to interrupt politely. David doesn't just start talking, he uses a specific phrase. If I could just jump in for a second. Other options include, could I add something here? Or, excuse me for interrupting, but this shows respect for the person who is speaking. Susan nods at David. Go ahead, David. The social media campaign sounds great in principle, David says, but creating high-quality video content can be very expensive. Have we allocated enough in the budget to do this properly? I'm concerned we might spread ourselves too thin. Here, David expresses a concern. He does it very professionally. He starts with a positive comment. Sounds great in principle. This is called a sandwich technique. You put the criticism or concern between two positive statements. He then states his concern clearly using, I'm concerned that. He uses a good business idiom, to spread ourselves too thin. This means trying to do too many things at once so that you can't do any of them well. Maria responds, That's a valid point, David. We've thought about that. In the initial phase, we plan to use a combination of in-house resources and 1 or 2 key influencers who align with our brand. That should keep costs manageable. The detailed budget breakdown is on page 5 of the proposal. Maria's response is excellent. She acknowledges David's point by saying, "That's a valid point." This shows she is listening and respects his opinion. She then addresses his concern directly and points him to where he can find more information. This is how effective, professional conversations work. They are about collaboration and problem solving, not arguing. The meeting continues like this for another hour. They brainstorm ideas, they delegate tasks, and they set deadlines. Mark contributes his own ideas about the sales strategy, and by the end, they have a clear action plan. Susan claps her hands together lightly. Okay, this has been a very productive session. Thank you all for your input. Let's recap the action points. David, you're going to refine the budget. Maria, you'll flesh out the video concepts. Mark, you'll align the sales team. Let's aim to circle back on this next Friday. Does that work for everyone? Everyone nods in agreement. The meeting is over. This is a very professional way to end a meeting. Susan summarizes what was decided, recap the action points, clearly states who is responsible for what, and sets a clear deadline for the next step. Let's aim to circle back on this next Friday. To circle back means to return to a topic later. Does that work for everyone? Is a great way to check for consensus. Now, let's leave the corporate world and see what Leo is up to. The school day has finished, and he's walking home with his best friend, Ben. They are both carrying heavy backpacks. "So, the math test wasn't as bad as I thought," Leo says, kicking a small stone on the pavement. "I think I actually did okay." "Sir?" "See, I told you it would be fine," Ben replies. The history homework, on the other hand, that was rough. So much reading. "Tell me about it," Leo says. "And I have to do it all tonight, because I left my textbook in my locker like an idiot." This is a typical conversation between friends. The language is very informal and relaxed. Leo uses "like an idiot" to criticize himself. This is common, self-deprecating humor. Ben uses the phrase, "tell me about it." This phrase is a bit tricky. It doesn't actually mean "tell me more information." It's an idiom that means "I completely agree with you and have had the same experience." It's a way of showing strong agreement and empathy. "Are you still on for gaming tonight?" Ben asks. The new update for Galaxy Raiders just dropped. "Oh, sweet. Yeah, definitely. I'll just have to get my homework done first, or my mom will ground me for a week," Leo says. "Cool. Just message me when you're free. Hey, do you want to grab an ice cream? My treat," Ben offers, pointing to a small shop on the corner. "I can't," Leo says, shaking his head. "I'm broke. I spent all my money on that concert ticket last week." "I said my treat," Ben insists. "It means I'm paying." "Oh, in that case, absolutely," Leo grins. "You're a legend, man." This exchange shows us informal teenage language. "Are you still on for" means "is our plan to" still happening. "Sweet" is slang for excellent or great. To ground someone is a form of punishment where a parent forbids their child from going out or having fun. Ben's offer, "my treat," is a generous and common phrase. Leo's response, "You're a legend, man," is high praise in teenage slang. It means you are a great person. They go into the shop. The man behind the counter smiles at them. "What can I get for you boys?" "Can I get 1 scoop of chocolate chip cookie dough in a cone, please?" Ben says. "And I'll have a scoop of mint chocolate chip, please," Leo adds. They pay, or rather Ben pays, and leave the shop happily eating their ice creams. This simple act of friendship Sharing a conversation and an ice cream after a long day at school is a universal experience. The language may be full of slang, but the feelings of friendship and connection are clear. The afternoon is drawing to a close. Let's visit Mark again. He's on his way home from work, but he needs to make a quick stop at the supermarket. The store is busy with people doing their after-work shopping. Mark grabs a basket and pulls out his phone. He has a shopping list that Sarah texted him earlier. Milk, bread, eggs, chicken breasts, pasta, and some of that dark chocolate you like. He navigates the crowded aisles. He finds the milk, bread, and eggs easily. But he can't find the right kind of pasta. He sees a store employee stacking shelves nearby. "Excuse me," Mark says. "Could you tell me where I can find the fusilli pasta?" The employee, a young woman, turns around. "Sure, it's in aisle 7, about halfway down on the left-hand side, right next to the penna." "Of, aisle 7 on the left. Got it. Thanks a lot," Mark says with a smile. "No problem," she replies. This is a classic asking for help scenario in a store. Mark is polite, starting with "excuse me." He is specific in his question. The employee gives clear, helpful directions. Aisle 7, halfway down, on the left-hand side. She also gives a landmark next to the pen. "Naos." This is very helpful. Mark's response, "Got it. Thanks a lot," is friendly and shows he has understood. Mark finds the pasta and the chicken. He then heads to the confectionery aisle to find the chocolate. He stands there for a moment, looking at the huge selection. He finds the dark chocolate that Sarah mentioned. He hesitates, then also picks up a bar of milk chocolate with caramel. A little treat for Sarah. He makes his way to the checkout. There's a short queue. When it's his turn, he places his basket on the conveyor belt. The cashier, a friendly-looking man, starts scanning the items. "Find everything you were looking for today?" he asks. "Yes, I did. Thank you," Mark replies. This is a very standard question from a cashier. It's part of the script of customer service. You can give a simple, "Yes, thank you," or you could mention if you had trouble finding something. "That'll be £24 and 53 pence, please," the cashier says. "Will that be card or cash?" "Card, please," Mark says, taking his wallet out. He taps his contactless card on the machine. It beeps. "Would you like a bag?" the cashier asks. "No thanks, I've got my own," Mark says, pulling a folded-up cloth bag from his briefcase. He packs his groceries. "There's your receipt. Have a good evening," the cashier says, handing him the small piece of paper. "Thanks, you too," Mark says, and he leaves the store. This whole interaction at the checkout is a sequence of standard questions and answers. Card or cash is the fundamental question about payment. Would you like a bag? Is another standard one, especially in places where you have to pay for plastic bags. The closing remarks, "Have a good evening," and "You too," are the standard polite way to end a transactional conversation. These might seem like small, unimportant conversations, but mastering them is key to feeling comfortable in an English-speaking environment. They happen every single day. As Mark is driving home, his phone rings. It's connected to the car's Bluetooth system, so he can answer it safely. He sees on the screen that it's his mother. He presses a button on the steering wheel. "Hi, Mom. How are you?" "Mark, darling, I'm fine. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time," his mother's voice says warmly through the speakers. "Not at all. I'm just driving home from work. I'm hands-free, so it's perfectly safe," he reassures her. This is a very polite way to start a phone call. His mother checks if it's a good moment to talk. "I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time." This is a considerate thing to do. Mark reassures her that it's fine. Oh, good, she says. I was just calling to see if you, Sarah, and Leo would be free to come over for Sunday lunch this weekend. I'm planning on making my roast lamb. Oh, that sounds lovely, Mark says. I'm pretty sure we're free, but let me just double-check with Sarah when I get home. She mentioned something about wanting to go to the coast, but I don't think we've made any firm plans. Can I call you back in an hour or so? Here, Mark is trying to manage an invitation. He shows enthusiasm. That sounds lovely. He explains the situation honestly. I'm pretty sure we're free, but let me just double-check. This is better than saying yes immediately and then having to cancel later. He proposes a clear next step. Can I call you back in an hour or so? This manages expectations and shows he will follow up. Of course, dear. That's no problem at all. Just let me know. How is everyone? How's my favorite grandson? Leo's fine. Mark chuckles. He's in his school is boring phase, but he's a good kid. Sarah's well too. She's meeting a friend for lunch today. Oh, that's nice for her. Well, I won't keep you. Drive safely. Speak to you later. Okay, Mom. Thanks for calling. Bye. Bye-bye, darling. Bro. Mark ends the call. This was a perfect example of a typical family phone call. It had a clear purpose, the invitation, some general catching up, how is everyone, wow, and a clear, warm closing. The phrase, I won't keep you, is a polite way to signal that you are about to end the call, showing respect for the other person's time. Finally, the day is winding down. The family is back together at home. Mark and Sarah are in the kitchen, preparing dinner together. Leo is at the kitchen table, his history textbook finally open in front of him. The atmosphere is relaxed and comfortable. So, how was your lunch with Chloe? Mark asks as he chops vegetables. It was lovely, Sarah says, stirring a pot on the stove. It was so nice to catch up. Her work is stressing her out a bit, though. She's thinking of finding a new job. Is she? That's a big step, Mark says. Did your early meeting go okay this morning? Di. Yes, it was fine. Long, but productive. We finalized the budget for the next quarter. Sarah replies, How was your day? Anything interesting happen? And this is the classic, how was your day? Nah, conversation. It's a vital part of reconnecting as a family or a couple at the end of the day. They take turns asking questions and listening to the answers. This is active listening. They are not just waiting for their turn to speak. They are showing genuine interest in each other's lives. Sarah's question, anything interesting happen? Is a good follow-up to, how was your day? It invites a story, not just a one-word answer. My day was pretty standard, Mark says. Meetings, emails. Oh, but my mom called. She invited us over for a roast lamb lunch on Sunday. Oh, that's nice of her, Sarah says. Are we free? That's what I told her I needed to check with you. I said we'd been talking about a trip to the coast. Sarah thinks for a moment. A roast lamb does sound tempting, and we haven't seen her in a couple of weeks. The coast can wait. Let's go. You can call her back after dinner and confirm. Will do, Mark says. He then turns to his son. And how about you, Mr. Leo? How was the infamous math test? Leo looks up from his book. It was okay, I think. Better than I expected. And Dad, your advice this morning actually helped. Mark looks genuinely pleased. It did? How so? I don't know, Leo says, a little shyly. Just thinking about how math could be useful for stuff like making video games. It made it a bit less pointless. Sarah smiles warmly. That's wonderful, honey. She puts the lid on the pot and comes over to ruffle Leo's hair. I'm proud of you for getting that homework done. This conversation shows the family unit working well. They share news, the lunch invitation, make decisions together, choosing to go to lunch instead of the coast, and share successes and feelings. Leo's admission that his dad's advice helped is a big moment. It shows that the earlier conversation had a real impact. Sarah's praise, I'm proud of you, is simple but powerful positive reinforcement. Dinner is a lively affair. They talk about movies they want to see, a funny video Leo saw online, and plans for the weekend. The language is a comfortable mix of questions, stories, jokes, and opinions. This daily ritual of the evening meal is where the family bond is strengthened through conversation. After dinner, they move to the living room. Sarah is reading a book. Mark is watching a documentary on TV. Leo is on the sofa, messaging his friend Ben. Okay, I'm done with homework. I'm coming online now. Leo types. He puts his phone down. I'm just going to play a game with Ben for a bit. Is that okay? He asks his parents. For an hour, Sarah says, not looking up from her book. Then it's time to wind down for bed. It's a school night. Okay, 1 hour. Thanks, Leo says, and he heads to his room. This is another example of setting boundaries and expectations. Sarah gives a clear limit for an hour. The reason is also clear. It's a school night. This helps Leo understand why the rule exists. Later that evening, Mark and Sarah are getting ready for bed. They are brushing their teeth in the bathroom. It was a good day, wasn't it? Sarah says, her voice slightly muffled by her toothbrush. It was. Mark agrees. Felt normal. Busy, but a good kind of busy. They finish up and go to their bedroom. Mark gets into bed with a book. Sarah sits at her dressing table, applying some face cream. Did you remember to call your mom back? She asks. Yep, Mark says, looking up from his book. I called her while you were showering. She was thrilled we can make it on Sunday. Good. Sarah stands up and walks over to the bed. Well, I'm exhausted. I think I'm going to turn in. To turn in is an informal way of saying to go to bed. Okay, Mark says. He puts his book down and turns off his bedside lamp. Me too. Sarah gets into bed and turns off her own light, plunging the room into darkness. Good night, Mark, she says softly. Good night, Sarah, he replies. Sleep well. And with those simple, affectionate words, their day comes to a close. From the first good morning to the final good night. Their day was woven together with hundreds of small conversations. We have followed this family through an entire day. We've heard them wake up, negotiate, plan, work, socialize, and relax. We've heard the formal language of the office, the informal slang of teenage friends, the polite, functional language of shopping, and the warm, intimate language of family. What have we learned? We've learned that daily conversations are not about using big, impressive words. They are about connection. They are about using the right tone, choosing the right phrase for the situation, and, most importantly, about listening. We saw how a simple question like, "How was your day?" can open up a whole world of experience. We saw how a phrase like, "I get it," can build a bridge between a father and a son. We saw how, "Don't worry about it," can make a friend feel forgiven. The key to mastering this is not just memorizing phrases. It is understanding the context. It's about paying attention to the people around you. When you are in an English-speaking environment, or even just watching a movie, listen. Listen to how people greet each other, how they order coffee, how they agree and disagree, how they tell a simple story about their day. Your practice now is to take what you've heard and apply it. You don't need to have a big, important conversation. Start small. The next time you buy something, try using the phrases we heard. I'll have, please. Card, please. Thanks, you too. The next time you talk to an English-speaking friend, try asking, what have you been up to? Instead of just, how are you? Try telling them a small story about your day using simple connectors like so, then, and after that. Remember, every conversation is an opportunity to practice. Every small talk is a step towards fluency. It's like building a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Everyone does. The characters in our story today didn't speak perfect English. They spoke real English. They hesitated. They used filler words like and They corrected themselves. And that's what makes it human. That's what makes it communication. Thank you for joining me, Sophia, on this extended journey with Best English Podcast. I hope that by listening in on one ordinary day, you feel more prepared and more confident to handle your own. Keep listening, keep speaking, and keep connecting. Have a wonderful day.